Salutaters, my potats, it is I, Rave, and I am back with another episode of Read with Rave, a series in which I read books or short stories written by myself or by some of my friends. A couple of small disclaimers. Disclaimer number 1, I have already gotten permission from my friends to read their books or short stories so as to avoid copyright. That being said, I will have links to their social media down in the description below. Disclaimer number 2, these books and short stories are not meant for children. The average audience is teens or young adults, so if you are a young child, please jump off this video and return when I have gaming or art videos. Today, I will be reading The Crossroads Planet, Book 1 of the Crossroads series by Robert Field. Chapter 14. At the top of the cataract, on top of a wide flat boulder, Lance and Crystal were having a quiet picnic lunch with a panoramic view spread around them. After the intensity of the past week, Mary decided that they should return to the college, but not until after a day of relaxation. From here they could see right down the box canyon, and over the narrow entrance to the road beyond. On the right was a pass leading to Crossroads, and to the left the greater panorama of the northern valley was visible above the canyon wall. "Well, is thee ready for a trip back to Crossroads tomorrow?" Lance was speaking. "Mary thinks thee's ready." "I guess so. It's been nice being away, if very busy and very tiring. It'll be nice getting back, though. The proctor and Mary say it's been quiet for a while, and Mary says I should be able to defend us. You've been practicing, too. As long as I can communicate with you mentally and supply you with the energy, you are reasonably competent as well. Cindy'd be surprised now if she tried to attack you." Cindy. Huh. You know, I've been thinking that she might have intentionally inhibited my skills all the time I've known her. It's just a theory, though. She could have just gotten upset over me breaking up with her to want to do someone else's dirty work by capturing me to get at thee, whom she was probably very jealous of. Crystal had been looking over the rough terrain. "Have you ever been hang gliding?" she suddenly asked, apropos of nothing. The next day they departed for Crossroads at false dawn. They easily made the pass an hour before noon. An hour after nightfall they were quietly entering the campus through the west gate. They were quietly escorted around the outer campus and in through the main gate, open but rarely used at this hour since the outer gate was closed. The escort led them to rooms at the master's court. Here they found the rest of their belongings from the suite at 3rd North had been moved here as well. The leader of the escort explained. "For your own security, it has been decided to shift your quarters. These rooms are generally reserved for the likes of lesser faculty or sometimes graduate students. We trust this will not inconvenience you greatly. You will of course be permitted to use the faculty dining room." The escort departed. Lance bolted the door, and then they inspected the rooms. These were actually quite a bit better than the undergraduate rooms. Lance was astounded. This was not a suite. It was a large apartment. They were standing just inside the door in a large sitting room with a love seat, end tables, and 2 wing chairs. Off of the sitting room there was a study with 2 desks and several large bookcases. Then there was a hallway leading back. Off of the hallway was a bedroom, a small kitchen, and a small bathroom. Each room had its own small fireplace, while the sitting room had a large fireplace. Each fireplace had a respectable quantity of logs and kindling in a rack next to it. Lance caught up to Crystal, who was inspecting the kitchen and bathroom. She had a thoughtful expression on her face as she looked at the nook in the kitchen with a table and 2 seats. The bedroom had 2 dressers and wardrobes, and a double bed with little tables on either side. Crystal sat down on the bed with an enchanted look on her face, but in a moment she frowned. "Lance, this is such a wonderful apartment, but doesn't it also mean that they're protecting us, and we may not be able to come and go exactly as we please?" "I'm afraid that you're probably right," Lance responded. "But enough worrying for tonight. Tomorrow we'll discuss things with Mary. Hopefully she'll be able to clarify things." Lance placed a few logs in the bedroom fireplace and borrowed some magic energy from Crystal to ignite them. Together they undressed and got into the large bed. Lance extinguished the lamp, and they cuddled together in the center of the bed. The next morning Crystal awoke, oddly disoriented. A bell was ringing. But which bell? The room was still dark. Then she noticed a little light coming from the thick curtain over the bedroom window. She slipped out of bed, put on her robe, and wandered into the kitchen, still getting used to the concept of having one. She inspected it carefully. There was a cold cupboard stocked with some meats and beverages. One of the other cupboards held some breakfast cereals and packets of sweet herbal teas. Elsewhere there were some dishes and pots. An alcohol lamp sat on the counter, and a kettle next to it. The kitchen fireplace, while not overly large, had a hook for a pot and a hob for the kettle. In the middle of the counter was a small sink, with a single tap. Crystal ran some water into the kettle and, summoning spirit energy, quickly had it boiling. She placed sweet herbs in the teapot, poured the water in, and went to rummage among their stuff for their personal special mugs. She placed the mugs on a tray and carried it to the bedroom. She placed a mug on each table and got in beside Lance to wake him with a kiss. He stirred and turned to embrace her. "Good morning, lovely lover," he said, and they sat up to drink their tea. By and by they got dressed and had some cold cereal in the kitchen. They were just rinsing the dishes in the sink when a knock sounded on the outer door. Crystal went to answer it. "Who's there?" she asked. "It's Mary Merriweather, dear," came Mary's voice from the other side of the door. Crystal opened the door for Mary. "Welcome back, dear ones," Mary said to Crystal and Lance, who'd just stepped in from the kitchen. "I thought I'd come by to talk to you two. Nothing formal." Mary accepted Crystal's offer of tea. Lance and Crystal sat in the love seat, while Mary drew up one of the wing chairs. "First of all," began Mary, and swallowed a mouthful of tea. "First of all, let me fill in a few details, some of which you may have guessed already. This room, while certainly better than what you can get in Students' Court, will probably start to feel like a jail at times. Eventually, you'll have to resume classes, but in the short term, that can't be allowed. Some of the material can be studied here. I will arrange for some tutors to assist you. You can take your meals in the faculty dining room, or you can do for yourself here. Housekeeping will see that the kitchen stays stocked. If you need anything special, just ask. My rooms are on this floor, several doors down, and I won't mind if you drop by now and again. While you can't go out, I don't see why you can't invite 1 or 2 friends over at a time. They will be carefully screened, of course." She looked at the grim expressions on their faces. "Now for some better news. Master's Court is magically shielded, both on the entire building and on the individual apartments. You should be quite safe here. Absolute shielding can also be invoked on the apartment. That will prevent any entry or exit from the apartment by any means. You'll also find that there's a speaking tube in here. It leads to the concierge, and she can summon the guard. Leave the cap on the tube when you're not using it." She walked over to one of the walls where a black rubber hose emerged from the wall, the free end suspended on a hook, ending in a brass cap. "It is a whistle that serves as a signal that you're being called. To place a call, remove the cap and blow a sound the whistle at the other end. The concierge is always on duty, and a member of housekeeping can also be summoned at any time. In addition, the concierge can pass messages to others here, and pass invitations to selected friends. It's a nice service, but don't abuse it, and it will always be there for you. You'll find some reading assignments on your desks in the study, and the books you'll need are on the shelves in there." Mary smiled at them. "I thought that ye two would prefer to hear this directly from me. You can go anywhere within the Master's Court. Remember that ye are here on the recommendation of myself and the proctor. Some of the other masters might not be sympathetic. Now, dears, any questions?" Crystal spoke first. "Will any of the masters, maybe even you, be dropping by to give us lessons?" "Well, I'll be willing, in whatever time I can find. I hope to persuade some of the other masters to fit you in as well." "Why," Lance began nervously, "why are we so important to the college that we are so carefully sequestered and protected? Surely we are expected to return favor for favor?" Mary grimaced, then smiled ruefully. "Smart lad you are. Yes, the two of you are being prepared for an important mission. Originally, only Crystal was to be part of the plan. Now that you two are heart-bonded, it's rather necessary to protect both of you. I can't say too much about the mission right now, because absolute secrecy is part of the plan. Once we've told you anything substantive, then you'll be totally cut off from the outside. Right now, you may still receive visits from your friends. All that I can really say goes without saying. The mission involves the evil forces threatening to take over this world. You will be thoroughly trained for the circumstances you may encounter. In fact, you have already accomplished some of the training. I won't say any more than that. Crystal smiled suddenly. Do you have any good cookbooks? I'm afraid I don't know much about cooking, but now that I have a kitchen, I'd definitely like to learn. Well, I don't know about books exactly, but I've got a box full of stuff I've written down. I might even do some cooking with you. I do like to cook. Crystal smiled entreatingly. Oh, would you? I could scan the recipes onto my computer and let you have the box back. Maybe we could all have a dinner together sometime. I'm sure I will. You probably don't know how empty my life can get at times. It's never been quite the same since my bondmate died. I care for my students, but so often they never return it. You two are so special to me. Crystal, you especially are not ingrained with local attitudes. Your comments are so refreshingly original. And Lance, you remind me a lot of my bondmate. A wistful look crossed Mary's face. If you are for Crystal even half of what mine was for me, Crystal will have much to thank you for. You yourself, while a product of this planet, are nonetheless different from the rest, something that I can't put my finger on. Perhaps it's because you always look beyond outer appearances. I think the two of you are going to have many wonderful years together. She rose to leave. Good luck, dear ones, she said as she gave them a hug and kiss apiece, then let herself out. Crystal sighed and smiled. Mary's a wonderful person, isn't she? She said, rising up to make yet a still more thorough inspection of the apartment. She found the books that had been placed on a shelf in the study and pursued the reading list on the desk. Then she wandered into the kitchen, carefully surveying the food items that had been stocked. Then she went across to the bathroom. There was a tub, a sink, a commode, a mirror, a medicine cabinet. She paused. A medicine cabinet? How do you put herbs and stuff into a medicine cabinet? She opened it. Inside were bottles of dried herbs, carefully labeled with what they were used for, and how to prepare them. She filed this in her memory for later. The tub and sink were both supplied with hot and cold water. But the kitchen isn't. How odd. Leaving the bathroom, she went into the bedroom. She pulled up the comforter on the bed and opened the thick drapes. They had ridden home under lower skies yesterday, and now she noticed it was beginning to snow. Meanwhile, Lance was looking at his reading assignment and shaking his head. Quitting the study, he sought Crystal, finding her by the window in the bedroom. Winter starts early around here, doesn't it? She said. I've always been fond of winter as a season. Do you have a lot of winter sports on this planet? Well, the people here have ways of getting around in snow, but as far as I know, they don't go out into the snow merely for entertainment. Sheer necessity seems to require enough time in the snow that going out for fun doesn't occur for most people. It occurs to me that with our magical skills, we ought to have a good time in the snow without too many practical considerations having to get in the way. I suppose. But in the meantime, we seem to be stuck here. It sounds like some big plans are being drawn up that we're expected to play a major role in. Lance and Crystal sat on the love seat and sipped their wine. Lace and Bruce sat on the wing chairs and did the same. Lace had thoughtfully brought a bottle of wine after being invited. Nice place, this, said Lace. It's a jail cell, really, said Crystal. We can't go out. All we can do is invite a friend or two over. Glad you could stop by. Lace frowned. We've been concerned about you two, actually. I mean, we helped thee rescue Lance, but when they sequestered you so completely... We spent a week up at the graduate students' training compound. While Crystal did some intensive, albeit somewhat basic, training in her magic skills, she's got the ability to tap the quantities of power for adept class magic, but she needed the chance to acquire some minimal competence. That's right, agreed Crystal. I'm still pretty amazed myself at some of the things I can do. People seem astounded in general at my potential so early in my training. I gather it takes some people years before they can even contemplate some of the things I've already done. Bruce spoke for the first time. We're just glad you're safe. Lace has been really worried about you. Will you be returning to classes? No time soon, I'm afraid, said Lance. I'm gonna get sick of this for our own safety stuff pretty soon. Lace smiled. So you got to spend a week up north. Have fun? We were very busy, but most of the time it was just the two of us by ourselves, and we could go anywhere in the immediate vicinity of the outpost. Crystal poured more into the cups, which were getting low. There was still quite a lot in the bottle, though. So what's the word around campus? Lace frowned. Not so good on the whole. The news we've been getting at mealtimes is full of negative reports. Amber cited here and there the masters on sabbatical are having some trouble, lots of little things, but all pretty discouraging, really. In town, the talk is about the planetary government. Word is that because they failed to effectively deal with the evil forces, that the provinces may call for resignations. Others claim that the current government is already corrupt by the evil forces. Either way, a new government and possibly a new constitution seems to be in demand. Crystal looked thoughtful. Is the current government having troubles because the original articles of Constitution described all the good things that they wanted to recreate from ancient Earth society, yet did not indicate how to deal with the rise of evil? Is it also possible that the Magi are insufficiently represented on the Planetary Council, and that the government, therefore, lack of experience in matters magical, may have left them open to subversion? She paused. I took the opportunity to do the homework I should have done before I came to this planet. At any rate, it seems like some past short-sightedness has come home to roost. She looked around at her friends. Sorry, didn't mean to sound so negative. Lance looked at her thoughtfully. You know, you do seem to have a hit on the nail, though. There have been calls for a new government with minimal magical ability, a requirement, and major abilities required for consideration to high offices. This is all well and good. Unfortunately, everyone's afraid that there will be a period of anarchy if the government collapses without properly paving the way for succession. And with the council being deadlocked, it's quite possible. The university is a part of the planetary government, isn't it? Wouldn't this college be a prime source for a new prime minister or whatever? Crystal asked. Lace shook her head. I just don't know. Another thing that worries me is talk of closing the school, sending us all home, so we're not all in one place if disaster strikes. But I don't know what would happen to you two. You don't have a hometown here, and Lance can't be separated from you. Also, it seems likely that the college will want to keep you sequestered even after the other students are dismissed. I'm afraid you're right. They've got some plans for us, or they're just keeping us as a whole card, but they're not saying anything right now. They gave us a choice. Tell us more, or let us keep seeing our friends. We opted to be able to see our friends for the present. Well, that's nice of you, I'm sure. Can we lighten the mood some, though? All right. Who needs more wine? More wine flowed, but the mood did not altogether lighten. Towards the end of the evening, they did get a little playful, though. Lace and Bruce got the nickel tour of the apartment, and a minor amount of jealousy was expressed, especially over the size of the bed. It'd have been nice enough if it weren't a jail for you two, said Lace. As it is, though, it's barely adequate. If this is what the average master obtains, they must do pretty well on the whole. The four of them were sitting on the bed now. Lace had thoughtfully picked up the bottles as the tour commenced, and now she topped off the glasses yet again. Crystal was beginning to feel a little tipsy, and yet she wanted it that way for the present, so she was careful not to summon any healing power just yet. Mary had taught her that one's intentions tended to direct the magic forces, and being clear in one's intentions made the results more certain. Crystal looked around at the other faces that were beginning to look flushed. Suddenly, she reached out to embrace Lace and Bruce together and give them a kiss apiece. It really has been quite lonely here. Mary visits, and the occasional master comes to tutor, but on the whole it's been awful not seeing many faces. Lace returned Crystal's kiss, this time on the lips, and Crystal felt a surge of emotions. She must be empathetic, Crystal thought. The feelings were reassuring, though, and she did not pull back, but embraced Lace tighter. Finally they parted. It was not the same sensation as with Lance, but it was just what she needed. "Thanks, Lace," she said, a little breathlessly. "Is that part of your talent?" "That's right. Attitude adjustment. Thee seem to need some. Hope thee doesn't think I'm being forward or mind the unorthodox method of contact. I figured that thee and Lance were both kinda low and needed some assistance, so I checked and I found I was right." Lance was looking shyly in Lace's direction. "Okay," said Crystal. "I guess I'll let you have your turn." Seconds passed. She tapped Lance on the shoulder. "Hey, that's enough. Let's not completely drain Lace." Lace laughed. "For you two, I do much more than that. You two are already special, you know that? Furthermore, I don't have to worry about making either of you jealous. As far as I know, heart-bonded people never get jealous. Bruce doesn't get jealous because he gets his share. Right, Bruce?" Lace winked. "Now that I know how you two are feeling, I'll be sure to give you your shares too. I really do care about you two, and I don't think that this protection stuff is fair or even necessary. Can Bruce or I come up uninvited when we've time?" "I don't see why not," said Lance. "The worst that can happen is that they'll turn you away because we're already seeing someone." Lace filled the glasses one last time with the remains of the bottle. Crystal felt much happier now and could sense that Lance's spirits had improved too, and not just because of the spirits consumed. Lace's attitude adjustment really did seem to have improved their outlooks. Lace spoke again. "It's taken Bruce and I a while to really get to know you. I would have offered you some assistance before, just from one good friend to another, but I didn't know how much you needed was. I feel like I should have helped some before you left for the training camp. I didn't have the chance. Today, of course, you really needed it. In a day or two, when I have the time, I'll give you both longer individual sessions. My training is in magically facilitated psychotherapy, and if you're not scared by the name, I can do some really wonderful things for you." Crystal nodded. "Yes, Lace, I'm sure we'd both welcome it." Lance nodded. "If thee can try, pass the word when thee'll be visiting so we can schedule around visiting masters and so forth." "Yes, Crystal dear, I promise. And thee too, Lance." All too soon the wine was all gone, and several heads were starting to get sleepy, so reluctantly they bade Lace and Bruce good night and walked them down to the courtyard, where big snowflakes were falling, and already about an inch of snow had accumulated. Crystal stared in wonder at how quickly the snow had accumulated since sunset. Returning upstairs, Lance locked the door, and they went into the bedroom. Cuddled in bed and ready to go to sleep, Crystal spoke to Lance. "How well do you know Lace and Bruce? Lace especially seems to me like a really nice person now that I know her better." "Lace I've known on and off for the past year. Bruce I don't know well at all." "Did you know about Lace's talent? Her treatment really is wonderful, isn't it?" "I seem to remember her mentioning something about it shortly after we met, but I don't recall her actually using her talent on me until just now. I do think she's very good with her talent. It's not an adept class skill, merely a well-learned journeyman level spell, but she does seem to have a knack for it. I do think she was joking about the unorthodox bit. I hope thee's not too surprised or offended, but from what I've learned in various lectures, the sexual channels are often the best for instilling healing feelings into a patient. There's no reason to feel embarrassed." "The only reason I may feel embarrassed is because I didn't know. I haven't been here as long and been able to cover as much material as thee has." She yawned. "Well, I hope thee enjoyed thyself this evening. It seems we may very well depend on our friends to keep us sane. Good night, dear." Thank you for joining today's episode of Read with Rave. I apologize for my stumbling, but I'm working on reading better, so I appreciate your patience. If you liked, please comment down below if you want me to do more of these. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and don't forget to splash the bell icon so you never miss another video, and I will catch you all on the next wave. Bye!